Hey guys, it's Carolyn Collar again, and welcome back to Gluten-Free Happy Tummy. Today I thought it would be fun to share an extra special kid-friendly recipe. Earlier this morning I was shooting some educational videos called the Mother Goose Club for Sockeye Media, and it got me thinking. I thought, you know, it would be really fun to share a recipe that's not only great for adults but is also just as equally fun and delicious for kids. So today I'm going to make my basil beet blooms and triple B. And basically it's going to be rounds of roasted beets, which everybody loves because they're so sweet and delicious, topped with a puree of peas and cauliflower and basil. And it's going to have this really delicate, mild flavor, and it's just going to look beautiful. It's going to look like a blooming flower with the purple and the green, so it's going to be great. So let's get started. I've preheated my oven to 400 degrees, and I've sliced 2 large beets into about 1/4 of an inch discs, about that big. So, and you can either do that on a mandolin, or I just used a knife, a sharp knife, and I did it carefully. So now when you're cleaning a beet, a lot of people think that you have to peel them, but I personally don't. I mean, I think it saves you some purple hands, and it's just easier. So what I do is I scrub them with a kitchen scrubby under the water when I'm washing them, and it works just fine. So I'm going to place them in an even layer on my baking sheet that I have already lined with tin foil and sprayed with olive oil. And I'm not going to put salt and pepper on them yet, because if I do it now, then they'll end up just steaming in the oven, and we want these to actually roast and caramelize. So I'm going to give them just a quick little spritz with olive oil. Alright. And now into the oven they go. Okay, so I've got my beets going in the oven, and I've already steamed 1/2 cup of peas and 1 cup of cauliflower. And you can either steam these on the stove using a steamer basket, or you can just pop them in the microwave for about 2.5 minutes. That's what I did, so don't tell. On to the cream. If you guys haven't noticed by now, my food processor is my baby. It's my favorite utensil in the kitchen, appliance in the kitchen, and I use it just about every day. Okay, so in my food processor, I've processed 1/2 cup of peas, 1 cup of cauliflower that I've steamed, and about 5 large basil leaves. You don't want to overpower the vegetables with too much basil, because after all, this is a kid-friendly dish. So just enough to give it a kiss of that sweet basil taste, but not to be overpowering. So I've scraped the sides about 4 times just to make sure that it's really nice and smooth, and it's turned into this beautiful lime green cream, and it's going to go just beautifully on top of our beets. So, and now I'm going to show you a trick that whenever I'm going to pipe something, I always do this, because I personally, I'm not a baker, so I don't have any of those fancy piping bags, but I'm crafty, so I can make my own. So I just have a glass, and in the glass I've put just a Ziploc bag, and I've put it down and folded over the top. And now what I'm going to do is, it's like my extra pair of hands. I just plop it right in there. Then I have a little makeshift piping bag, and I just take a pair of scissors, and when the time comes, I just snip off the tip. Instant piping bag. How easy was that? Okay, my beets have been cooking for one side for about 15 minutes, and so now I'm going to take them out of the 400-degree oven and flip them. And also at this time, I'm going to add 12 cherry tomatoes, and I'm going to roast these right alongside with the beets, because I think it would be pretty to put one on each of our little beet blooms, and when they're roasted, the sweetness is just intensified and they become super juicy and tender. So I'm going to throw those on the pan once I flip the beets as well. So I'm going to do that and get right back with you. Okay, my beets were looking good. I'm going to give them about 20 more minutes on the other side because they're still pretty firm and I want them to get nice and beautifully caramelized and soft and chewy. So I'm going to give them about 20 more minutes. So they'll have been in the oven for about 35 to 40 minutes depending on the thickness of your beets. So if you don't know my story, which I'm sure many of you don't, I have ulcerative colitis. And the reason that Gluten-Free Happy Tummy came about was that when I had to move home last year, which I was in a horrible flare, and I had to move home for 10 months, and my body rejected all the medications out there, all the steroids, antibiotics, the mega drugs, you name it, I tried it and it didn't work. So if I was going to get back to the city, I needed to heal, and so I took matters into my own hands and decided that I was going to heal myself through diet. So Gluten-Free Happy Tummy just kind of was my healing journey, and it chronicled you know, all the ups and downs, and you know, I met all you fabulous people along the way and became friends, and you know, now I'm back in the city and just living life to the fullest. I'm healed, I'm completely better, and I have these recipes to thank. So Gluten-Free Happy Tummy is just kind of it has a really special spot in my heart, and I want to thank you for just sharing in this journey with me. Yeah, so this is from my kitchen to yours. Alright, I can smell that my beets are done. And they've been in there for about 35 to 40 minutes. The tomatoes have become all juicy and kind of, they've shriveled up a little bit, so I know they're going to be nice and soft. And the beets have caramelized and are going to be super sweet and delicious. Oh, this is going to be good. Okay, so what I've done is I've done a little chiffonade on some fresh basil, just as kind of an accent for decoration. You put 3 on a plate, just like this. Oh, these look so magnificent. And now I'm going to pipe my cream right on top. And now, just to finish it off, I'm going to put a roasted tomato on top of each. But you'll want to make sure that you let these cool before you get to touching them. Oh, doesn't that look good? And now, for the finishing touch, a little bit of basil. Gorgeous! Isn't this just beautiful? It's so fun. It's whimsical. It's like a page out of a Dr. Seuss book. This is totally a kid-friendly meal. But even though I'm not a kid, I'm totally into this, and it's time for me to take a bite. Oh my gosh, that is so delicious. You have the chewy and deliciously sweet beet that has caramelized, and all the sugars have become so intense and rich. And then you get hit with this bright and fresh, flavorful cream from the peas and the cauliflower. My mouth is just watering, you can hear it. And there's just that subtle basil note. It's not overpowering or anything. It's just the right amount of freshness that complements that earthy sweetness of the beets. And then the tomato, which is probably the most fun part, it explodes in your mouth, and it's just this intensely sweet, juicy bite that it just brings it all together. You know, this meal really is the perfect family meal because your kids are going to love it. They're going to love eating something that looks like a flower right out of a Dr. Seuss book. And it's just a fun springtime dish that's light, it's meatless, and you're going to feel really good serving it to your kids. So, I'm Carolyn Collar, and thanks for spending some time with me in my kitchen. Happy cooking!